Hello, college football fans. Welcome again to Urban's Take with Urban Meyer, three-time national championship winning coach at two different schools, Urban Meyer, Florida and then Ohio State, two different schools. And I'm Tim May, the host, Urban's Take with Tim May. But let's jump right into it, Urban. You guys are going head-to-head with another network on the same campus this week. Big noon kickoff, getting ready to be at the Ohio State hosting Penn State game on Saturday. A major collision of two unbeatens. The Big Ten East begins its three-team tournament. I guess, how excited are you about this?
Well, I love going back home. And then, we got Fox as the big three. We have this game, Ohio State, Penn State. Then we go to State College and have the Wolverines go to Penn State, which would be a huge game. And then the finale, the game up in Ann Arbor. So we've been waiting for this all year. The Fox Big Noon is the best division in college football, the Big Ten East. It's boy, these teams look good. And Penn State and the Wolverines just really haven't played. I want to look at Penn State's schedule, and I've been watching their film, getting ready for the show. They are really good, and their defense is exceptional. But when you look at Delaware, Massachusetts, Iowa's offense, they just Northwestern, I believe they played. It's just they're not, and it's not their fault. It's no one's fault.
Yeah.
I guess when you schedule non-conference in Delaware and Massachusetts, that's someone's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, but you want to be tested somehow, some way. Obviously, as you point out, Ohio State's been tested on the road with that great game against Notre Dame and stuff. When you look at Penn State, and then you look at you've looked at Notre Dame, do they have any similarities that will help Ohio State be ready for this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, number one similarity is they're really good players. I think Al Golden at Notre Dame does an excellent job on defense, and Ohio State had to fight their tail off for every yard.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be this way Saturday. I think Manny Diaz is a heck of a coach. I've told people this is the best Penn State talented team I've seen. I think they're really well coached on defense. I think offense, I think they do a good job as well. Offense, they haven't been as explosive as I thought they would be, especially with who they played. But I see a lot of similarities. I just, whenever you get good players, that's, you can mess around all you want. When you look across the sideline, you just have far superior players. And I've been in that situation. It's, it's part of the game. You have to do it. But when you look across that line of scrimmage and that sideline, and you see the other sideline, and they have what you have,
yeah,
that's when that's when it really counts.
That's when the pucker factor kicks in a little bit, doesn't it? Hey, is it your sense that Penn State's been sort of holding Drew Allar back? Their young quarterback, he's playing well, but they haven't really pushed the ball down the field. They're like the last in major college football, or something close to that in yards, in plays over 20 yards, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, considering the way they've kind of beaten people. He threw 4 touchdown passes against Iowa, for example. A couple of those were short field possessions and stuff. But do you feel like there's a sense that they could cut him loose on Saturday?
Yeah, when you hear that, Tim, it's nonsense. When I heard people say, are the coaching staff saving something for Ohio State? They hold it back. What are you talking about? No, that's all due respect. That's that's writers and fans, and no, they don't. You have a young quarterback. You're trying to get him as much success as possible. You do what the defense gives you. When you see him throw a short pass, you're not telling him to throw a short pass. The defense is probably telling them to do that because they're covering the deep one. So, no, that first of all, that doesn't really happen. And second of all, Penn State's, they're trying to figure themselves out too. Defensively, they figured it out. Yeah. Offensively, they haven't yet. They got really good players. Those two running backs are phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the challenge coming. But speaking of stepping up and throwing something at people, there was this young coach back at Florida in 2006 who had Chris Leak was his returning starting quarterback, but he had this young freshman who really brought something to the power game, especially down in the red zone. And he finally said, got to get this guy on the field. His name was Tim Tebow. The coach's name was Urban Meyer. We saw a very similar situation on this past Saturday when Ryan Day and his staff sent Devin Brown into the game in the red zone. And he delivered once, had a fumble into the end zone, another one that play he'd like to have back, but he played pretty well. So you see more coming from that little, it's not really a gimmick, that little change of pace.
I think, Coach Day's been a part of our offenses, and he's a really smart guy. The minute you add the running quarterback into the red zone, that changes the whole game. That you would now, because turning around, handing the ball off in the red zone, I used to have people say, why don't you just give it to Zeke? It's not that easy.
Yeah.
There's two there. When you're down in there deep, there's two defenders standing right there that are, you don't have enough people to block them. So how do you do that? Well, you make the running back be the blocker and you run away from the other guy. And that's what we did with JT Barrett for so long and so successfully. And then Tebow the same way. The question is, do you want to get your quarterback hit? That always comes up. And Devin Brown, I know the way the staff feels about him. They love the guy.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I think he's a tough dude. I love the enthusiasm he plays with. So I can see more of that.
Yeah. It shows this staff is thinking too, right? I mean, they know what's going on in the red zone. They've got answers. They even had the tush push last week, I mean, so there you go. And it was Caden Curry making the push, defensive tackle lining up in the backfield. So all kinds of things going on. Speaking of coaches though and decisions, Urban, I wanted to ask you about this. I mean, I think it's almost like coaches are losing their minds right now in some occasions. This is my opinion, not yours. And anybody else who's watching this is my opinion. I think they're almost losing their minds in both the college and the pro ranks of this go for it on fourth down situations, especially deep in the red zone, instead of taking 3 points. Not the 3 points are ever guaranteed, but we saw last week. I mean, Oregon paid a hefty price for not grabbing points when it could have grabbed points. Dan Lanning electing to go for it several times on fourth and short, fourth and goal, and then at the end of the game, giving Washington a short field going for it on fourth down, trying to keep the ball. And I don't know what is going on out there. You talk to coaches a lot.
Yeah, this word analytics. 20 years ago,
yeah,
there was no, and if there was, I never had it. You went with your gut, you went with your heart, and you went with experience. And so, a lot of times I did go for it on fourth down, even when analytics might tell you to kick a field goal. But analytics, I found, are very aggressive. The analytics actually tells you to go for it at more than I was an aggressive coach. There's times where I'd say, "What's it say?" And they say, "Well, we should go for it here." And I'm like, "Really?" I wouldn't do it. So I don't know if they're losing their mind. I've seen the same thing. The Miami situation to me is a one-off. I've never seen that before, and I don't think you'll ever see that again. Where the game's done, it's set, match, over, grab a knee. Yeah. I don't think you'll ever see that again. I think being aggressive and going for it on fourth down is something that is in the persona of the coach. When I was a young guy, I went for it all the time. I was one of those guys. I would tell our players, we're going to blitz a lot, and I want to hit the quarterback as much as I can, and I'm going to call it on fourth. We're going for it. I want an aggressive team.
Yeah.
And players love to hear that. But that the Oregon one, that I watched it, and I don't think that was analytics. I think that's a coach that's trying to set the tempo for his team, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Plus, it looked like they'll probably get another shot at Washington at the end of the year. So that's something you didn't have way back when you were when you were starting out, et cetera. But it is interesting because you saw Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman both go for it early in that game, or in the first half of that game at Ohio State and Notre Dame a few weeks ago, and they really could have used those points. Late in those games, both of those coaches could. But past that, I wanted to jump real quickly. Tennessee at Alabama this week. It's kind of a must-win for both. And the reason I'm giving you credit is you warned your youngsters on your Fox Big Noon kickoff show not to forget about Alabama several weeks ago. They would probably get their quarterback situation figured out or get something figured out, and they've got too much talent on that team to just write off after one loss and stuff. But this is a big game for both of these teams, right? I mean, the third Saturday in October, and somebody's going to fall way behind. I'm talking about in the standings.
Yeah. To me, Alabama's still an enigma. I thought, they started to get better. They beat Ole Miss. They looked very good. Who they went after that, but then
Mississippi State. Yeah.
Mississippi State. And then they played Arkansas, and they didn't look very good.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
And I look at the numbers of the quarterback, and just offensively, they're nowhere near what they were in the past. So you have great players, you have a great coach, head coach, and you have a great staff. That usually equates to a very good team and a team that gets better during the year. I'm worried about Alabama now a little bit more than I was 2 weeks ago. Now you're week 6, 7. You're into the season now, and they should be a little better than they are. So I think they still are trying to figure things out. Tennessee has to go to Tuscaloosa, and that's a tough go for them. I saw a stat where they haven't won there in many, many years. Not many people have.
Yeah.
So I won't count Alabama out, but if they don't start looking like Alabama, I am going to start worrying about it.
Yeah. I thought they'd kind of come to grips with Jalen Milroe, kind of being their Vince Young. You know what I mean? I mean, let him do what he does best and make him make maybe one read in the passing game and then take off or do something. But we'll see where it goes. By the way, before we get to the checkmate moment, usually my favorite part, I wanted to throw in there. You're hosting a little shindig at the Urban's Pine House, I think on Friday night, and all your Fox Big Noon kickoff guys are going to be there with you and stuff. And it's for charity, and obviously it costs to get in, but it's a great cause, right? I mean, what's kind of the impetus for that?
Yeah, it's Meyer Family Foundation, Fund for Cancer Research. I'm very involved with James. I have been, and the fund through the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer has raised millions and millions of dollars. And so it was a collaborative effort by Chris Corso of the Pine House, and then Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. So it's going to be great. And our Big Noon kickoff will be there. We got a bunch of former players there. Jim Tressel is going to join us, and it's going to be a great event for a great cause at a great restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, before we move to checkmate moment, how many times, Urban, are you going to get asked, are you interested in this job? Are you interested in that job? Are you retired for good? Are you getting tired of that? You've kind of answered that on this Urban's Take a few times. I don't think anybody gets tired of being wanted, right? But what is your status?
I never get asked.
Oh, there you go.
You ask me once in a while, but you said, am I getting tired of that? No one asked me that.
Okay.
No, I don't. No, I got my tight circle of friends, and I go to the Big Noon kickoff and enjoy my life. So it's not like people are asking me, because people know me. No, I have no interest, and I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. People are asking me about you. That's the reason I wanted you to answer the question instead of me. There you go. Hey, last thing, checkmate moment, man. Michael Penix, you give him the ball near midfield, 2 throws later. Washington takes the lead. What do you think? And was that not just a huge national championship implication moment, Heisman moment also? Go ahead.
Man, I love this guy. And you imagine how sick right now the Hoosier Nation is?
Yeah.
I mean, the coach was at Indiana, Kyle DeBoer. Penix was at Indiana.
Yeah.
Think about that. And those two are the hot. I mean, that coach is excellent. The player, he's with Caleb Williams playing like he did. Penix is in the league for the Heisman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy was in Bloomington, Indiana, and the world would be different right now if he was still there. So yeah, I love the guy. I think he's a competitor. I've always did. I like the way he plays. I like his recklessness. I love the way he leads. And that was a Heisman moment and a national championship moment. Now they got to keep going, but that's a really good. I'll tell you, them in Oregon. I picked Oregon to be the number 4 team last week, and I caught a lot of heat from that. But they lost. But I still think at the end of the day, one of those teams will be in the playoff.
Hey, real quick, who's your best team in the country right now? If you had to rank them, I mean, I know you think about this stuff.
Got to be Georgia. I put Texas number 1 ahead of Georgia, but I just don't know. I think the Wolverines. I'm telling you now, they look really good, and we're gonna find out though. They have not. I said this on Big Noon. They're the best first half team in college football. Yeah, because they haven't had to play a second half yet.
Yeah, interesting.
And, they're really good though.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's Urban Meyer. That's Urban's Take. I'm Tim May, and until next week, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Tim.